Hi everyone, this is Joel Polaczyk, and today I'm recording my movie vlog, and I'll be talking about 1999's The Insider, directed by Michael Mann. And I have never seen this film. I watched it for the first time for M&D 305, but it's one that's been on my list for a long time. So I was super happy to finally be able to get around to it and to have a good excuse. The movie is just over 2.5 hours. It's 2 hours and 37 minutes altogether with credits, and it stars Al Pacino, my favorite actor of all time, and Russell Crowe, who gave one of my favorite performances of all time in the following year in 2000 with Gladiator, where he plays Maximus Decimus Meridius. Um, this film was absolutely fantastic. The acting was incredible. I mean, it's kind of what you expect from Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. They're absolutely phenomenal. And here is proof that I watched the movie. I rented it on Amazon. If you look right here, it says I have 33 hours on the rental. Amazon rentals are 48 hours normally. And so, yeah, let's dive into the plot. So, Al Pacino plays Lowell Bergman, who is a 60 Minutes producer, and Russell Crowe is Jeffrey Wigand, who was the corporate vice president of research for Brown and Williamson, a large tobacco company in the United States. And he is fired from his job. And then separately, Bergman is running a story on 60 Minutes about the impact of cigarettes on people. I don't remember exactly like what he was trying to find out, but that was like the basic premise. And he anonymously gets sent in the mail a ton of data about nicotine, about cigarettes, and he's just a 60 Minutes producer. He doesn't know what all the scientific terminology means. So he calls up one of his buddies and says, "Hey, I need somebody to decipher this for me so I can actually talk about it and know what's going on." And Bergman's buddy gets him in contact with Wygand, Crowe's character, and so they meet at a hotel. They're talking to one another, and Wygand is like, "Yeah, I can decipher this. If I get paid, obviously." He says, "I can decipher this for you, but I can't say anything else. I'm in a legal contract with Brown and Williamson, my past employer." And Bergman, being the journalist that he is, he's a little skeptical of that. He thinks there's something more, behind why Wygand is being so reserved. And there is. Wygand, he was involved with all the research, so he knows that Brown and Williamson is putting additives into their cigarettes to make the nicotine content even more addictive than what it already is. So they're basically, harming people even further just to sell their products, completely taking advantage and exploiting consumers. And Bergman convinces Wygand to, tape an interview for 60 Minutes. And he does that, but the whole movie, kind of unravels Wygand's life. He's receiving death threats from people. There are people involved with Brown and Williamson that are following him. He's got death threats to his home. He has two small daughters with his current wife. Just like not a situation you want to be in. It was a super powerful movie, and it taught some incredible things about journalism and reporting, specifically through the lens of Bergman, because he is the journalist in this case. And so, to dive into the reporting lessons, first and foremost, I mean, this is probably the most obvious thing with journalism, it's accuracy. And the first reporting lesson is uphold the truth. There's a really powerful scene in this film where Bergman is talking to Don Hewitt, who is the creator of 60 Minutes in real life, and it played by Philip Baker Hall. And Bergman tells Hewitt, "Are you a businessman or are you a newsman?" And this is when Hewitt is telling Bergman, "I'm not going to run this interview because there were some legal things where they thought it would interrupt the sale of CBS to Westinghouse." It was basically this whole monetary thing, and they didn't want to put the truth out there because they wanted to just have smooth sailing. And Bergman calls him out for it. He's trying to uphold the truth and his journalistic integrity. And then, second, always fact check, always double check, triple check, even if you're not sure. I mean, again, accuracy, incredibly important. Um, and maintaining that journalistic integrity. They talked about a lot how CBS could have a lawsuit if the things that Wygand was saying weren't true. Um, so Bergman goes to incredible measures to double check and just make sure that everything is fine to run. And then my third reporting lesson is, and this I feel like is really timely for now when we're thinking and working on the investigative or the enterprise stories. You know, um, at first, Wygand was just, deciphering these papers for Bergman, and Bergman is like, I think there's something else here. And he looks for that different angle. He's open minded and he finds out this information that Wygand knows. So that's super important. Like, even if you have an idea for an investigative or an enterprise story, don't be afraid to pivot if you uncover um, something more interesting or something better. I mean, that's kind of the nature of investigative reporting. So I'm really going to try to carry that with me, with myself, going forward with this assignment. And then for other lessons, one from the beginning is treat your sources with respect. They're also humans. A lot of times throughout the movie, Bergman tells Wygand he's not just an asset to him. He's important. He's an important person, and he makes him believe that, even when Wygand is like, "I'm not that important. I'm not the producer of 60 Minutes." And yeah, so just treat people, with respect. And Bergman has a great quote in it. He says, "Story, no story. I don't burn people." So he doesn't put his sources in, tough situations if he can avoid it. Like the Brown and Williamson thing, where they're all like, stalking Wygand and there's death threats. Like, really wasn't Bergman's fault. Wygand just, it's tough working for a huge company with all those resources, and they were able to find out, what he was doing. And then a lesson from the middle is do what's right. Wygand is risking it all just to help people. He's the person involved with the tobacco company. He's risking literally everything. His family, his wife actually ends up getting a divorce with him, and they separate. And he still like stood by what he was doing. Um, and then lastly, stay true to yourself. Eventually, in the film, CBS does air the interview. They air the unedited thing, the original thing that they were going to air, and Bergman leaves CBS still. Even after it's aired, he goes, "I'm leaving." And the one of the final shots of the movie is him walking out slow motion, Al Pacino, and he's fixing his collar on his trench coat jacket. It is the coolest thing ever. And he stayed true to himself throughout the entire movie, even when people in CBS that were in higher positions didn't maintain their integrity and themselves. Bergman did. And so, some reasons for other journalists to watch this movie, student journalists, I think it just shows the importance of journalism, first of all, how it can make an impact and really help people. And it's also just a cool movie. Like, it shows that journalism can be cool. I mean, Al Pacino plays the guy. Al Pacino is pretty cool. But in all seriousness, like, it shows that there's an impact. It shows that the job that we're doing is important. So if you ever have a doubt that you are making an impact, watch this movie and see what they're doing. And then again, like I said before, it can help inspire investigative and enterprise stories, just the way that Bergman handles things. And then lastly, I've mentioned this several times, but Lowell Bergman, Al Pacino's character, is a prime example of someone who maintains journalistic integrity. And that is one of, if not the most important things, like in this field, to maintain accuracy and credibility, accumulating into integrity. It's just super important. And so for my rating, I'm only giving it an 8. I'm giving it 8 oranges out of 10, but it's really close to a 9. It could even be a 10 on rewatch. I just wished, especially because it was dramatized, I wish they delved into more of the results of airing it. Like, they didn't really show a lot of reactions of viewers to this segment being aired, and with how controversial it was to air it for Wygand's sake, I kind of wish they showed a little bit more of the impact. And then also, there's just a ton of legal jargon that it's kind of hard to follow, like in the moment with the dialogue. But overall, like Michael Mann stylistically is one of the best contemporary American directors, and the acting was absolutely impeccable. So I can't recommend this film enough. Thank you.